The sky above Kepler 442b burned red as the alien ships dropped their deadly cargo. Corporal Lee Hyun pressed his face against the cold concrete wall and counted the explosions. 15, 20. The ground shook with each blast, sending dust and debris raining down on his squad. "Stay low," whispered Captain Yoon-tae from across the ruined street. His voice barely carried over the sound of the alien bioships screaming overhead. The creatures inside those ships had been hunting humans for 3 long years. They called themselves the Valthera, and they showed no mercy. Lee Hyun looked at his rifle. The plasma rounds could hurt the aliens, but their crystal skin was tough. Too tough. Most shots just bounced off like raindrops on a window. The aliens were stronger, faster, and smarter than humans. They could talk to each other without words, sharing thoughts across the battlefield like a giant brain. "Hyun," called Private Kim Da-bin, the team medic. She crawled over broken glass to reach him. Blood stained her uniform from helping wounded soldiers all day. "Command says we need to move. The aliens are sweeping this sector. 3 years ago, everything changed. The first Valthera ship appeared near Earth's moon without warning. At first, humans thought they came in peace. The ship was beautiful, made of what looked like living crystal that changed colors in the sunlight. But when Earth sent greeting messages, the aliens answered with fire. The attack started with Earth's military bases. Orbital stations turned to dust in minutes. Then came the colony worlds. Kepler 442b had been home to 50,000 humans. Now maybe 500 still lived, hiding in the ruins of what used to be New Sol Colony. Lee Hyun remembered his sister's last message from Earth. She said the aliens were different from anything humans had ever seen. They stood 8 feet tall with skin like blue-white crystal. Their eyes glowed with inner light, and they moved like dancers even in heavy armor. But they fought like demons. "The princess leads them herself," Kim Da-bin said as they crawled through the rubble. "My brother saw her ship yesterday. Twice as big as the others, and it screams when it flies. Princess Naravel. Even humans knew her name now. She commanded the Valthara fleet with cold fury that never seemed to end. Every human surrender offer was ignored. Every peace message was answered with more attacks. The princess wanted all humans dead, and no one knew why. Captain Yoon-tae motioned for the squad to stop. Through a hole in the wall, they could see a Valthara patrol moving down the street. 5 aliens in crystal armor that reflected the red sky. Their weapons hummed with energy that could cut through steel like paper. Lee Hyun held his breath. The aliens moved in perfect silence, each one knowing where the others would step before they moved. It was like watching one creature with 5 bodies. Their leader stopped and tilted its head, listening for something only it could hear. "They know we're here," whispered Sergeant Oh-min. His hand gripped his rifle so tight his knuckles went white. "Should we run?" "No," Captain Yoon-tae replied. "Running makes noise. They hunt by sound when they can't use their mind talk." The patrol leader raised its weapon and pointed it at their hiding spot. Lee Hyun's heart hammered in his chest. Then, like a miracle, explosions erupted 3 blocks away. The aliens turned toward the sound and ran with impossible speed, their crystal armor flashing in the firelight. "That was Firebase Delta," said Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin, checking her scanner. "They're under attack. Heavy attack. Firebase Delta was supposed to be safe. It had shields and big guns and 300 soldiers. If the aliens could hit it, nowhere was safe anymore." Lee Hyun thought about all the good people he knew there. Medics and engineers and cooks who just wanted to go home to their families. "We have new orders," Captain Yoon-tae said, listening to his radio. "Admiral Park Seon says all units fall back to Delta. The evacuation ships are coming." "What about the civilians?" Kim Da-bin asked. "There are still people hiding in the residential area." "Orders are orders," the captain replied. But Lee Hyun could see the pain in his eyes. They all knew what it meant. The people left behind would die when the aliens came. As they moved through the destroyed city, Lee Hyun saw the bones of human dreams. A playground where alien fire had melted the swings into twisted metal. A school with pictures still hanging on the classroom walls, showing happy children who were probably dead now. A hospital where the aliens had used some weapon that turned the building inside out. "Why do they hate us so much?" asked Private Song Hwa, the youngest member of their squad. She was only 19 and still believed humans and aliens might find peace someday. "Nobody knows," Oh-min answered. "Command thinks it's about territory. Maybe they need our worlds for something." But Lee Hyun wasn't sure. He had seen alien prisoners before they died. In their glowing eyes, he saw something that looked like personal pain. like they were fighting humans not for land or resources but for revenge. The radio crackled with bad news. All units, this is Admiral Park Sion. Enemy forces have broken through Sector 7. Repeat, Sector 7 has fallen. All civilian evacuation points are now offline. Lee Hyun stopped walking. Sector 7 was where his unit was supposed to go. If it had fallen, they were trapped with no way off the planet. Around him, his squad mates realized the same thing. They were stuck on a world that was dying, with aliens who would never stop hunting them. So what do we do now? Songhua asked in a small voice. Captain Yoon Tae looked at his map, then at his soldiers. These were good people who trusted him to keep them alive. We keep moving toward Delta. Maybe the evacuation ships will come back for another try. And if they don't? Oh Min asked. Then we make the aliens pay for every inch of ground, the captain replied. They moved through the night, staying away from the main roads where alien patrols hunted. Lee Hyun carried extra ammunition for the squad's heavy weapon. His legs hurt and his stomach was empty, but he kept going because his friends needed him. As dawn broke over the ruined city, they could see Firebase Delta in the distance. Smoke rose from several buildings and the shield generator flickered like a dying light bulb. The aliens had hit it hard, but it was still fighting. Look, Kim Dobbin pointed at the sky. More ships coming. A dozen Valthara bioships descended from orbit like falling stars. But these were different. Bigger. In the center flew one that was twice the size of the others. Its crystal hull singing a low, sad song that made Lee Hyun's bones ache. That's her, Captain Yoon Tae said quietly. That's Princess Naravel's ship. The princess had come to finish what her forces started. Lee Hyun watched the alien ships position themselves around Firebase Delta, like hunters surrounding wounded prey. Soon the real battle would begin. He checked his rifle one more time and thought about home. Earth was so far away it might as well be a dream. His parents would be worried sick if they knew where he was. But someone had to stand between the aliens and the innocent people still hiding in Delta. Ready? Captain Yoon Tae asked his squad. Ready, they answered together. Lee Hyun took a deep breath and started running toward the base. Behind him, Princess Naravel's ship began to scream. The bombing had stopped 3 hours ago, but Lee Hyun could still hear ringing in his ears. Firebase Delta's outer wall had a hole big enough to drive a truck through. Half the barracks were gone, and the medical bay was full of wounded soldiers. We need supplies, Kim Dobbin said, wrapping a bandage around Sergeant Oh Min's arm. Medical supplies, food, anything we can find. Captain Yoon Tae nodded toward the ruined city. The residential area might have something. Most families left supplies when they evacuated. Lee Hyun volunteered to go with the search team. He needed to move, to do something useful instead of just waiting for the aliens to attack again. Private Songhua and Corporal Baejun came with him. They took the last working hover sled to carry whatever they found. The residential area looked like a giant had stepped on it. Houses were crushed flat or blown apart. Pieces of family photos and children's toys lay scattered in the streets. Lee Hyun tried not to think about the people who used to live here. Check that apartment building, he told the others. I'll search the houses on this street. The first house he entered was mostly intact. The kitchen still had canned food in the cabinets, and he found medical supplies in the bathroom. As he filled his bag, he heard something that made him freeze. Crying. Soft and weak, but definitely crying. Songhua. He called into his radio. Do you hear that?
Hear what?
Lee Hyun followed the sound to a pile of concrete and twisted metal that used to be another house. The crying was coming from underneath. He started moving chunks of debris, careful not to cause more collapse. Someone's trapped down there, he told his team. Come help me dig. It took 20 minutes to clear enough rubble to see what was underneath. Lee Hyun expected to find a human child. Instead, he found something impossible. A small Valthera lay curled in a pocket of space between two concrete slabs. But this wasn't like the adult aliens they fought. This one was tiny, maybe the size of a human 3-year-old. Its crystal skin was pale blue instead of the dark blue-white of adult warriors. And it was hurt. What is that? Songhua whispered. It's a child, Lee Hyun said quietly. An alien child. The little creature looked up at him with eyes that glowed like soft stars. It wasn't wearing armor like the adult aliens. Instead, it had simple clothes that were torn and dirty. One of its arms hung at a wrong angle, probably broken. We should leave it, Baejun said. It's one of them. But Lee Hyun couldn't move. The child was looking at him with such fear and pain that it made his chest hurt. Those glowing eyes were so much like human eyes when they were scared. The crying had stopped, but the little alien was shaking. "It's just a baby," Lee Hyun said. "It's an enemy baby," Baejun replied. "In a few years it will grow up to kill humans." Kim Dobbin's voice came over the radio. "What's taking so long? We need those supplies back here." Lee Hyun made a decision that surprised even himself. He reached into the hole and gently lifted the alien child out. It was lighter than he expected, and it made a small sound like a kitten. "What are you doing?" Songhwa asked. "I can't leave a hurt child to die," Lee Hyun said. "No matter what species it is." The alien child looked at him with those strange, beautiful eyes. Slowly it reached up with its good arm and touched his face. Its hand was warm and felt almost human except for the smooth crystal texture. Lee Hyun used his medical kit to make a sling for the child's broken arm. The little alien let him work without fighting, seeming to understand that he was trying to help. When he was done, it curled against his chest like it trusted him. "We can't take it back to base," Baejun said. "The captain will be furious." "Then we don't tell him right away," Lee Hyun replied. "We say we found a human survivor." "That's lying. That's staying alive long enough to figure out what to do." Lee Hyun couldn't pronounce the alien words the child whispered, so he started calling it Hope. It seemed like a good name for something small and fragile that had survived when everything around it died. Back at Firebase Delta, Lee Hyun snuck Hope into the medical bay. Kim Dobbin nearly dropped her scanner when she saw what he carried. "Are you insane?" she whispered. "If the other soldiers see that thing." "She's hurt," Lee Hyun said. "And she's just a child." Kim Dobbin looked at Hope's broken arm and the cuts on her crystal skin. Her medical training took over. "Bring her to the back room, quietly." As Kim Dobbin worked on Hope's injuries, the alien child watched everything with curious eyes. She didn't cry when the medic set her broken bone, just made soft cooing sounds. When Kim Dobbin smiled at her, Hope smiled back. "She's intelligent," Kim Dobbin said. "More intelligent than a human child this age should be." "What do you mean?" "Watch her eyes. She's studying us, learning from everything we do. And look at these markings on her skin." Kim Dobbin pointed to swirling patterns in Hope's crystal skin that were more complex than anything they had seen on adult Valthara. The designs seemed to move and shift when the light hit them right. "I've never seen patterns like this," Kim Dobbin said. "They're much more detailed than normal alien markings." Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin entered the medical bay to check on wounded soldiers. She stopped when she saw Lee Hyun holding Hope. "Corporal," she said in a dangerous voice. "What exactly is that?" "A survivor," Lee Hyun said. "I found her in the ruins. That is clearly a Valthara child." "Yes, ma'am." Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin stared at Hope for a long moment. The alien child looked back at her without fear, then reached out like she wanted to touch the lieutenant's face. "The markings," Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin said suddenly. "I've seen patterns like those before." "Where?" "In intelligence reports about Valthara nobility. The more complex the skin patterns, the higher their rank in society." She pulled out her scanner and took readings from Hope's crystal markings. The device beeped and showed results that made the lieutenant go pale. "These aren't just noble markings," she said quietly. "These are royal markings. This child is from the Valthara royal family." Lee Hyun felt his stomach drop. "What does that mean?" "It means you might be holding the most important prisoner of war in human history," Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin replied. "Or the most dangerous." That night, Lee Hyun sat with Hope in the quiet corner of the medical bay. The alien child had eaten some of their food and seemed to like the taste. She made happy sounds when Lee Hyun sang her a lullaby his mother used to sing to him. "What am I going to do with you?" he whispered. Hope looked up at him and said something in her alien language. The words were soft and musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Lee Hyun didn't understand what she said, but the way she said it made him think she was trying to comfort him. Outside, Captain Yoon Tae was arguing with Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin about what to do with Hope. Some soldiers wanted to use her as a bargaining chip. Others thought she was too dangerous to keep alive. But Lee Hyun had made his choice. He would protect this small alien child no matter what happened. She was Hope now. Not just a name, but a real hope that maybe humans and aliens didn't have to be enemies forever. Hope fell asleep in his arms, trusting him completely. Lee Hyun looked at her peaceful face and wondered if her parents were looking for her. Somewhere out there, alien mothers and fathers might be crying for their lost children just like human parents did. The war suddenly felt more complicated than killing enemies. It felt like a tragedy that hurt everyone. 5 days passed, and Hope became part of Lee Hyun's daily life. She stayed close to him always, her small hand gripping his uniform whenever loud noises scared her. When the alien ships flew overhead, she would press her face against his chest and make tiny whimpering sounds that broke his heart. "She's getting stronger," Kim Dobbin said, checking Hope's healing arm. Alien children recover much faster than human children. Lee Hyun had noticed that too. Hope's broken bone was already mending, and the cuts on her crystal skin had faded to thin silver lines. But more than that, she was learning. She understood simple human words now and tried to copy the sounds Lee Hyun made when he spoke. "Papa," she said one morning, pointing at Lee Hyun. The word was unclear but unmistakable. "Did she just call you father?" Songhua asked in amazement. Lee Hyun's throat felt tight. "I think so." Hope seemed proud of herself for learning the word. She said it again and again, "Papa, Papa," while patting Lee Hyun's face with her good hand. The other soldiers gathered around to watch, and even the grumpy ones smiled. But Hope's abilities went beyond just learning language quickly. Strange things happened when she was around. The base's old radio started working better after she touched it. A soldier's broken scanner began functioning again when Hope played with it. The medical equipment ran smoother when she was in the room. "It's like she has some kind of effect on electronics," Kim Dobbin said. "The bioscanners show unusual energy readings around her." Sergeant Oh-min discovered Hope's most useful ability by accident. He was on guard duty when she wandered over to him, babbling in her musical alien language. Suddenly she grabbed his arm and pointed toward the perimeter fence. "What is it, little one?" he asked. Hope made urgent sounds and pulled him toward the communication room. She seemed to be trying to tell him something important. Oh-min followed her, curious about what had gotten her so excited. "Captain," Oh-min called on his radio. "The alien child is acting strange." She keeps pointing toward Section C. "What do you mean, strange?" "She seems agitated about something out there." Captain Yoon Tae came to see what was happening. Hope ran to him and grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the window that faced Section C. She pressed her face against the glass and made distressed sounds. "Get the long-range scanner," the captain ordered. When they scanned Section C, they found a Valthera patrol moving toward the base, 6 aliens in full combat armor, trying to approach without being detected. They were still 2 kilometers away, but Hope had somehow sensed them coming. "How did she know?" Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin asked. "Maybe she can sense her own kind," Captain Yoon Tae replied, "like how they communicate with thought talk." The patrol was driven off by artillery fire, but the incident made everyone realize that Hope was more than just a lost child. She had abilities that could help keep the base safe. Over the next few days, Hope saved lives 3 more times. She warned about incoming bombing runs before the radar detected them. She found unexploded alien devices that the engineers had missed. Once, she even led Kim Dobbin to a wounded soldier who was trapped in collapsed debris. The soldiers started to trust her. They began calling her their little guardian angel and brought her small gifts. Songhua gave her a teddy bear from her personal belongings. Baejun carved her a wooden toy from debris. Even Oh-min, who had wanted to leave her in the ruins, now shared his rations with her. But the most important change was in Lee Hyun himself. Taking care of Hope had given him something to fight for beyond just survival. When she laughed at his silly faces, he remembered what joy felt like. When she fell asleep holding his finger, he felt the deep peace of being needed and loved. "You're different," Kim Dobbin told him one evening. "Calmer, more focused." "She needs me," Lee Hyun replied, watching Hope play with her toys. "It feels good to protect something innocent instead of just destroying things." "Do you ever think about her real family?" Lee Hyun had thought about it every day. Somewhere in the galaxy, alien parents might be searching for their lost daughter, but he pushed those thoughts away because they were too painful. Lieutenant Choi Soo-bin spent hours studying intercepted alien communications, trying to learn more about Valthera society. Most of the messages were military orders or supply requests, but sometimes she found personal communications that painted a different picture of their enemies. "Listen to this," she told Captain Yoon Tae, playing a translated message. "It's from a Valthera soldier to his family. He talks about missing his children's birthday celebration and hoping the war ends soon so he can go home." "They have families," the captain said quietly. "They love their children just like we do. There's something else. I've been tracking communication patterns from Princess Naravel's command ship. She sends out search orders every day. Not military searches, something personal. What kind of searches? She's looking for someone. Or something. The orders always use the same urgent tone, like she's desperate to find whatever she lost. That night, Lee Hyun lay awake thinking about what Lieutenant Choi Subin had said. Hope slept peacefully beside him, her crystal skin glowing softly in the dark. She had grown so much in just a few days. Her alien language was mixing with human words now, creating a unique babble that only Lee Hyun could understand. "Mama," she said in her sleep. "Mama, where?" Lee Hyun's heart clenched. Even in her dreams, Hope was looking for her real mother. He gently stroked her head and she settled back into quiet sleep. The next morning brought terrible news. The radio crackled with reports from other human colonies. 3 more worlds had fallen to Velthara attacks. Princess Naravel's forces were becoming more aggressive, hitting harder and faster than before. "It's like she's in a hurry," Admiral Park Seon's voice said over the communication link. "Like she's desperate to end this war quickly." "What changed?" Captain Yuntae asked. "We don't know, but her attack patterns are different. More personal. She's leading assault missions herself now instead of sending subordinates." Lee Hyun listened to the reports while feeding Hope her breakfast. The little alien girl was trying to use a spoon like humans did, making a mess but looking proud of her progress. She had no idea that her species was destroying human colonies across the galaxy. "Papa sad?" she asked, noticing his expression. "A little sad," he admitted. Hope climbed into his lap and patted his cheek with her small hand. "Papa happy soon," she said in her careful human words. Hope helped Papa happy. Despite everything, Lee Hyun smiled. This small alien child had more wisdom about healing pain than most adults. She made him remember that even in the darkest times there could still be love and hope and reasons to keep fighting. But deep in his heart, Lee Hyun knew their time together couldn't last forever. Hope belonged to a world and family he could never be part of. Someday he would have to let her go. The thought made him hold her a little tighter, trying to store up every precious moment before the inevitable goodbye came. The attack came at dawn when the morning mist still clung to Firebase Delta's damaged walls. Lee Hyun woke to the sound of sirens and Hope crying in his arms. Outside, the sky filled with Valthera bioships descending like angry stars. "This is it," Captain Yuntae shouted over the communication system. "All units to defensive positions. This is not a raid. This is a full assault." Lee Hyun grabbed his rifle and looked at Hope. She was terrified, her crystal skin flickering with patterns he had never seen before. The markings moved like lightning across her small body, pulsing with each explosion outside. "Kim Da-bin," he called to the medic. "Can you take Hope to the shelter?" "No, Papa," Hope said, gripping his uniform with both hands. "Stay with Papa. It's too dangerous, little one. Papa's safe." "Hope safe?" she replied in her mixed language of human and alien words. Before Lee Hyun could argue, the base's shield generator exploded in a shower of sparks. Through the gap in the wall, he could see Valthera warriors pouring into the compound. But these weren't regular soldiers. These wore different armor, more ornate, with crystal designs that matched Hope's skin patterns. "Elite guards," Lieutenant Choi Subin said, checking her scanner. "They only deploy when royalty is present." The largest bioship landed in the center of the compound, its crystal hull singing a deep, mournful song. The sound made Hope stop crying and listen with an expression Lee Hyun had never seen on her face before. "Recognition. Mama ship," she whispered. Lee Hyun felt cold dread fill his stomach. "What did you say?" "Mama ship sings sad song. Mama looking for Hope." The pieces suddenly fit together in Lee Hyun's mind. The royal markings on Hope's skin, Princess Naravel's desperate searches, the personal nature of her attacks. Hope wasn't just any Valthara child. She was the princess's daughter. "Oh no," he breathed. The fighting grew closer as Valthara warriors overwhelmed the outer defenses. Human soldiers fell back toward the central bunker, but there weren't many left. Firebase Delta had already been weakened by days of bombardment. Now with elite guards attacking, the base was doomed. Major Han Gil, the base commander, found Lee Hyun in the chaos. "Corporal, I need that alien child." "Sir, we're going to surrender. The child might be our only bargaining chip to keep my soldiers alive." Lee Hyun stepped back, holding Hope tighter. "She's not a bargaining chip. She's a child. She's an enemy asset and I'm ordering you to hand her over. No, sir. Major Hangil's face went red with anger. That's insubordination, Corporal. In wartime, that's a court-martial offense. Then court-martial me, Li Hyun replied. I won't let you use her like a piece of equipment. Hope seemed to sense the tension between the adults. She looked up at Li Hyun with those glowing eyes and said, Papa, protect Hope. Always, he promised. The sound of fighting reached the command center. Velthara warriors were cutting through the base's defenses like paper. Captain Yoon-tae burst through the door, his armor scorched and his face grim. Sir, they've broken through the perimeter. We have maybe 10 minutes before they reach the center. Major Han-gil looked around at his remaining soldiers. 37 humans against an army of crystal warriors led by a princess who had conquered 73 worlds. The math was simple and brutal. White flag, he ordered. We surrender. Sir, Sergeant Omin said. They don't take prisoners. You know that. They might if we have something they want, the major replied, looking at Hope. Li Hyun made his decision. He activated his radio on an open frequency that all forces could hear. This is Corporal Li Hyun of the Terran Defense Corps. I request to speak with Princess Naravel. I have someone she's looking for. Hyun, what are you doing? Captain Yoon-tae asked. What's right? Li Hyun picked up Hope and walked toward the base's main entrance. The little girl seemed calm now, her crystal markings pulsing in steady rhythms. She looked up at him and said something in her alien language that sounded like a question. I don't know what will happen, he told her honestly, but I won't let anyone hurt you or use you. I promise. Outside, the Velthara warriors had stopped attacking. They formed ranks in the compound, their crystal armor reflecting the morning sunlight like a field of diamonds. In the center stood figures in more elaborate armor, the Royal Guard. The largest bioship's door opened with a sound like singing crystal. Princess Naravel emerged, and Li Hyun understood immediately why her enemies feared her. She was tall even for a Velthara, with armor that seemed to be made of living starlight. Her skin was deep blue-white, marked with royal patterns that moved like flowing water, but it was her eyes that struck him most. They burned with a combination of fury and grief that made the air itself seem colder. She walked toward the base entrance, her guards forming a protective circle around her. Each step she took made the ground ring like a bell. When she was 20 meters away, she stopped and spoke in perfect human language. I am Princess Naravel, first daughter of the Crystal Throne, commander of the Velthara fleet. You claim to have something that belongs to me. Li Hyun stepped into the open area between the base and the alien formation. Hope in his arms had gone very quiet, staring at the tall figure with wide, glowing eyes. I have someone who might be your daughter, Li Hyun said, but she's not property. She's a child who deserves love and protection. Princess Naravel's glowing eyes fixed on Hope and her entire body went rigid. For a moment, the only sound was the wind blowing through the ruined base. Then the princess took a step forward, her voice breaking. Calavel? Hope stirred in Li Hyun's arms and looked at the princess. She tilted her small head and spoke in rapid alien language, her voice rising with excitement. Li Hyun didn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. Joy, recognition, love. 3 years, Princess Naravel whispered, her fierce composure cracking. 3 years I have searched every world, every system. I thought you were dead. Hope reached toward her mother with both arms, babbling in her musical language. But when Li Hyun started to step forward to bring them together, Hope suddenly gripped his uniform and looked back at him with worried eyes. Papa come too? She asked, Princess Naravel's burning gaze fixed on Li Hyun. You have been caring for my daughter. Yes, he said simply. For how long? 2 weeks. I found her in the ruins after your bombing run. The princess stared at him for a long moment. Around them, her warriors waited in perfect silence for her command. Li Hyun knew that one word from her could end his life, but he stood firm. Hope needed him to be brave. My daughter calls you father, Princess Naravel said. She needed someone to take care of her. She was hurt and alone. You could have used her as a hostage. You could have bargained for your life. I could have. Li Hyun agreed. But she's just a child. She deserved better than that. Hope looked between Li Hyun and her mother, sensing the tension in the air. She spoke in her alien language, pointing at Li Hyun and then at Princess Naravel. Whatever she was saying made the princess's eyes widen with surprise. She says you saved her life, the princess translated. She says you sing to her when she has nightmares. She says you are kind and gentle and that she loves you. I love her too, Lee Hyun said quietly. More than my own life. The princess closed her eyes for a moment and Lee Hyun could see the war between joy and rage playing across her crystalline features. When she opened her eyes again, they held a depth of pain that made his heart ache. Do you know why I have been destroying your colonies, human? No. Because I believed your people killed my daughter. Because I thought there could be no peace while her murderers lived. She paused, looking at Hope with infinite tenderness. But you did not kill her. You saved her. Hope reached out again, this time managing to touch both Lee Hyun's face and stretch toward her mother. She spoke in her mixed language, using human words mixed with alien ones. Hope love Papa. Hope love Mama. Why Mama? Papa no friends? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Here was a child who had learned to love across species lines, asking why the adults couldn't do the same. Princess Naravel looked at her daughter, then at Lee Hyun, and for the first time in 3 years the war stopped being simple. Princess Naravel stood frozen for heartbeats that felt like hours. Her crystal armor caught the morning light and threw rainbows across the ruined compound. Lee Hyun could see her hands shaking as she looked at her daughter for the first time in 3 years. Kalavel, she whispered again, and this time the name sounded like a prayer. Hope, Kalavel babbled excitedly in her alien language, reaching toward her mother with both small hands. She seemed to be telling a story, pointing at Lee Hyun and making gestures that looked like eating and sleeping and playing. She is telling me about her time with you, Princess Naravel translated, wonder in her voice. She says you fed her when she was hungry. You held her when she was afraid. You made her laugh when she was sad. Lee Hyun's throat felt tight. She made me laugh too. She brought light to the darkest days. The princess took a careful step closer. Around them, her royal guards remained perfectly still. But Lee Hyun could see confusion in their glowing eyes. This was not how they expected this moment to happen. May I? Princess Naravel began, then stopped. She was asking permission. The mighty conqueror of 73 worlds was asking a human soldier for permission to hold her own daughter. She's your child, Lee Hyun said gently, but let her choose. Kalavel looked back and forth between her mother and Lee Hyun. She spoke in her mixed language, asking questions that neither adult fully understood but both felt in their hearts. Mama said long time? She asked her mother in careful human words. Yes, little star, Princess Naravel replied, tears making tracks of light down her crystal cheeks. Mama was very sad. Papa make Hope happy. Papa good? Princess Naravel looked at Lee Hyun with eyes that held 1,000 conflicting emotions. Yes, she said finally. Papa is good. Kalavel clapped her hands together and laughed, the sound like silver bells in the wind. She reached for her mother, and this time Lee Hyun stepped forward to bridge the gap between them. When Princess Naravel took her daughter into her arms, something broke open in both of them. The princess held Kalavel like she would never let her go again, whispering words in their musical language that made the child giggle and coo. But after a moment, Kalavel began to fuss and reach back toward Lee Hyun. Papa too, she insisted. Mama, Papa hope together. She does not want to choose between us, Princess Naravel said, understanding dawning in her voice. In her mind, we are both her family now. Lee Hyun felt his heart breaking and healing at the same time. I always knew I would have to give her back to you. She belongs with her real family. But you are her real family too, the princess said quietly. A child's heart has room for many loves. Kalavel seemed to sense the sadness in both adults. She touched her mother's face and then reached for Lee Hyun, pulling him closer until the three of them formed a small circle. No cry, she said firmly. Happy now. Altogether happy. Behind them, Lee Hyun could hear his fellow soldiers watching in amazement. Captain Yoon-tae spoke quietly into his radio, probably reporting to Admiral Park Seon that the situation had become something no one had planned for. Princess Naravel looked around at the destroyed base and the wounded human soldiers. I have done terrible things in my grief, she said. I have killed innocents because I believed your people were monsters. We thought you were monsters too, Lee Hyun replied. We were all wrong. My daughter has learned to love humans. She speaks your language. She calls you father. The princess paused, struggling with thoughts that challenged everything she had believed. How can I continue a war against people my child loves? Hope, Kalavel, she's special, Lee Hyun said. She sees hearts, not species. She taught me that enemies can become family if we choose love over fear. Calavel had been listening to their conversation with the serious expression she wore when trying to understand adult talk. Now she spoke up in her clear voice. War hurt people. Make mama sad, make papa sad. Hope no like war. Princess Naravel closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them again, Li Hyun saw a different person looking back at him. Not the conquering general who had destroyed worlds, but a mother who had been lost in grief for 3 years. I cannot undo what I have done, she said, but perhaps I can stop doing more harm. She turned toward her guards and spoke in their language. The words rang across the compound like music, but Li Hyun could hear the authority in them. One by one, her warriors began lowering their weapons. I have ordered a ceasefire, she announced. All Valthara forces will stop attacking human targets immediately. Your Highness, one of her guards said in accented human speech. The Empire expects victory. The Council will demand explanations. Then I will give them explanations, Princess Naravel replied firmly. I will tell them that we have been fighting the wrong war for the wrong reasons. Major Han Gil emerged from the base, his uniform torn but his dignity intact. Princess Naravel, I am Major Han Gil, commander of this base. Are you offering surrender terms? I am offering peace terms, she corrected. Not surrender from either side, but an end to hostilities so we can find a better way forward. My daughter believes that humans and Valthara can be family, Princess Naravel continued, looking at Calavel in her arms. She has proven it by loving both her birth mother and her human father. If a child can bridge our species, perhaps adults can learn to do the same. Calavel clapped her hands and said, Smart mama. Smart papa. All smart together. Li Hyun found himself laughing despite everything. She thinks she's solved the galaxy's problems. Maybe she has, Princess Naravel said softly. Children often see solutions that adults miss because we make things too complicated. Over the next several hours, a historic transformation began. Princess Naravel used her command ship's communications to contact Valthara fleets across the galaxy, ordering them to cease all attacks on human targets. Admiral Park Seon, speaking from Earth, authorized his forces to hold their positions but not to fire unless fired upon. The process wasn't smooth. Some Valthara commanders questioned their princess's orders. Some human admirals wanted to use the ceasefire to prepare better attacks. But gradually, the shooting stopped. This is just the beginning, Princess Naravel told Li Hyun as they watched Calavel play with human and alien soldiers who had put aside their weapons to make toys for her. There will be those on both sides who want the war to continue. But we have something they don't, Li Hyun replied. We have proof that peace is possible. We have Calavel, the princess agreed. And we have each other. She will not let us be enemies again. As the day ended, Princess Naravel faced a choice that would define the future. She could take her daughter back to the Valthara Empire and resume her life as a royal princess. Or she could stay and help build something new. I cannot ask you to give up your world for us, Li Hyun said when she mentioned her dilemma. You are not asking, she replied. Calavel is asking. She wants both her families. And perhaps I want that too. What do you mean? I have spent 3 years learning how to destroy. My daughter has spent 2 weeks learning how to build bridges. I think she is the better teacher. Princess Naravel made her announcement that evening, broadcast to both human and Valthara territories. She would establish a new colony on neutral ground, a place where both species could meet and learn from each other. She would step down from her military command and dedicate herself to building peace instead of making war. Some will call me a traitor to my own species, she said, but my daughter has shown me that love is stronger than loyalty to old hatreds. The first peace talks began 3 days later in Firebase Delta's rebuilt meeting room. Representatives from both species sat around a table, with Calavel playing quietly in the corner, watched over by Li Hyun and Princess Naravel. She doesn't know she's making history, Li Hyun observed. She does not care about history, Princess Naravel replied. She cares about having her family together and safe. Perhaps that is the only history that matters. The negotiations would take months. There would be setbacks and arguments and moments when peace seemed impossible. But whenever talks threatened to break down, someone would look at the small Valthara child who called a human soldier Papa and an alien princess Mama, and remember that the future could be different from the past. Years later, When children of both species played together in the crystal gardens of New Hope Colony, they would learn the story of how the war ended. They would hear about the alien princess who chose peace over vengeance, and the human soldier who chose love over fear, and the little girl who taught them both that family has nothing to do with the shape of your body or the color of your skin. But most of all, they would learn that sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating your enemies, but from discovering that you never had to be enemies at all.